Please turn off or put on vibrate all cell phones and pagers. If you need to talk, please leave the meeting room. Anyone who wishes to speak, including applicants, is asked to completely fill out one of the speaker cards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff. You will be called to present a case or speak on a specific item as desired. Anyone who wishes to be re-noticed must completely fill out one of the postcards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff to receive notice of subsequent meetings. Current Design Review Board agendas are available by calling our Design Review Board hotline at 818-548-3171 or by visiting our website at www.ci.glendale.ca.us. A handout describing the procedures of the meeting, possible board decisions, and Design Review Board reconsideration and appeals is available at the table by the front door. Please note that all appeals must be filed within 15 calendar days of the Design Review Board decision date. The chairperson may reorder agenda items at his discretion. In terms of a roll call, Board Member Garagos?
Here.
Board Member Karoglian?
Here.
Board Member Sakai? Here. Board Member Zarifian?
Here.
And Chairman Malikian?
Here.
The report regarding posting of the agenda. The agenda for this meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall at or before 5 p.m. on November 30th, 2011. Oral communications. Discussion is limited to items not a part of this agenda. I have no oral communication cards. Chairperson?
We do not have any.
None. With that said, we would like to go to staff announcements. There are several staff announcements, the first of which would be that we would like to welcome our newest Design Review Board member, Mr. Shaheh Karoglian, to the Design Review Board number 2. Mr. Karoglian studied interior design in his native Beirut in Lebanon, and by profession, he works as a mediator, so his background and skill will no doubt be proven useful here. So again, welcome, Mr. Karoglian.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And at that, I'd like to turn the meeting over to Stephanie Reich.
I just have a few announcements. Good evening, Chair, board members, and to our newest board member Karoglian. On this week, Tuesday, December 6th, Council adopted the zoning code portions of the North Glendale Plan. The week before that, on November 29th, the North Glendale Community Plan was adopted, including the design guidelines for use citywide. So once we have the final document, we will be distributing color copies of that final document to all of you, likely at your next meeting. And so we're all very pleased that that project has come to a very positive conclusion. The zoning on Foothill Boulevard was agreed to and adopted by Council at a height of 35 feet with other changes that were discussed at these meetings. In addition to that, on December 6th, there was the first reading of an ordinance to remove the South Brand specific plan and replace with conventional zoning. That will be heard again by City Council on January 10th. So that's a little bit of an update on some of the policy planning that will affect your work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, at this point, we have 2 items on tonight's agenda, and I would like to turn the meeting over to Chairman Malikian.
Okay. Well, first of all, welcome, Mr. Karoglian.
Thank you.
And, we'll try to make this as simple for you as possible. And so at this moment, we're going to go ahead and get started with the 3801 Lockerbie Court. Are we ready for that?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, board members. The case number for this project is 2PDR 2011-040A, located at 3801 Lockerbie Court. This application is a result of an existing open code enforcement case, and this is a first-time submittal for final review. The proposal is to legalize the facade renovations done to the existing single-family house, as well as the fence along not along the property line, but portions of the fence are encroaching into the front setback area. The existing house was built in 1957 It is at the corner of Lockerbie Lane and Lockerbie Court. There are no changes proposed to the footprint of the building. No additions are being proposed, and no changes to the site plan are also being proposed aside from the fences and the gate. The work that was done to the existing house was basically changing of the windows, as well as applying cut stone veneer material to the facade, to the exterior of the building. And portions of the previously existing brickwork was maintained. Staff cannot support the project as it stands. However, staff is recommending 5 conditions for an approval with those conditions, and I will quickly go over those conditions. One is to replace the cut stone veneer with brick that matches the existing brick, and or lower it to the sill height. Or if the existing stone is to be maintained, staff would recommend applying those same stone to the existing brick area to match it, as well as the chimney. Second is to replace the front-facing windows with nail-on or block frame windows with no internal grids and wood seal, because the windows that are put in currently are Z-bar windows with internal grids and they're vinyl sliders.
What's a Z-bar?
Z-bar would be the installation type with that white vinyl frame around the window, whereas a block frame or a nail-on wouldn't have that frame or the trim around it. 3 is, excuse me, this is a zoning code violation. Actually, number 3 addresses that, is to all portions of the wrought iron fence that are in the front setback area must be removed. And 4 is to simplify the fence, the portions of the fences that are to be maintained, to be simplified to a much simpler design that will match the design of the house. And lastly, to provide simpler design for the light fixtures that are on top of the posts. That actually wraps up the recommended conditions and my presentation. Again, staff recommends approval with those conditions. Unless board has additional conditions or disagrees with these conditions, I will let you discuss that, and I am here for questions if you have any for me, and the applicant is also here in the audience.
Okay. Do we have any questions for staff?
Which ones are the new windows?
All of them are.
All of the whole house?
Correct.
Are all new.
And I should maybe clarify, thank you for bringing it up. The condition number 2 that talks about the fences, we are recommending that talks about the windows, is to change those that are facing the street, which are facing Lockerbie Court and Lockerbie Lane. The ones that are not visible from the street, we're not recommending as a condition to be replaced. Only those that are visible or facing the street, I should say.
Okay. We have one application here, Gar Nazarian. Can you state your name and address, please?
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Chair and board members. My name is Carlo Nazarian with Domus Design, 109 East Harvard, Suite 306. Today we are here by knowing that there is a violation occurred in this property, and because of the negligence of the owner, or his understanding, or not having the knowledge what is needed for remodeling or changing the windows. By the thought that I'm not adding any floor area, or I'm not changing the envelope of the building, maybe I don't need the permit, so he did this facade renovation and the window changes without permit. And by having, not having the knowledge or the knowing what is needed to do this, and actually he's paying penalty right now, starting with the high fees that already all the fees it's increased, and he's paying all doubles because of his negligence. But anyway, in that time, the intention of the owner was to improve his primary residence for himself and his family, to create a nice and safe ambient for the family, starting with the windows, because the original windows of the building was mixed of the wood windows, few, and aluminum windows, which already was gone. And the fencing around the let's say, the flat pad on the top of the slope. It was for the security of his kids, especially for his son that has a special health condition. That was a security issue for him. But anyway, now, even on the staff report, they are talking, this area, it's has a different style of the architecture houses, and this is one of the buildings that we cannot tell that has any architectural style or any architectural expression. It's just plain building, very simple building, and very average or below average house. And the owner tried to improve a little bit the house for himself. And we are trying to legalize all this job that has been done without the permit, and by having a look to the site plan, we will see the pad where the house is located. It's about 20 feet above the street level, and this house is not visible, almost not visible from the primary street, which is the Lockerbie lane, and from the Lockerbie court, it's visible just portion of that, which mostly is the garage that you can see. The remaining is not visible from the street. And the owner did contact with his surrounding neighbors, and on this map I'm showing with this pink color, I'm showing the subject property. With this yellow and this blue one, which I added right now, we have signed a petition from the neighbors that they don't have any objection with this project and they support. And the visibility of the house, as I mentioned, it's just from the north side of the property, which that north side road, the Lockerbie Lane and the Lockerbie Court, it's ended at just 2 lots above the subject property. And all these neighbors that they have visibility to that garage portion, they don't have any objection. And the materials that has been used on this, the windows, they are nice quality windows. It's a mill guard with a nice thick frame and the moldings around, and double glazed, which that complies with the today code. And even the cut stone veneer that it has been installed, it's a quality material. And by looking to this house, this house has been built in 1957. If originally this house was built with this cut stone veneer, everybody would say this is much better than the stucco one, just plain stucco versus this cut stone veneer. For the fence railing that we do have encroachment in the front setback, I did work with the zoning, counter, and we agreed that we have 2 choices, or to remove that portion that it's encroaching in the front setback area, which is side street setback area, or to file a variance. But my suggestion to the owner is just to remove that portion. We will legalize that. And one of the comments was to simplify the railing design. Yeah, the railing on the top.
You need to wrap up.
Okay.
So the time
We
is
can
up.
simplify the railing. As it's installed, the ornamental part, we can remove it.
Okay.
If you have any other question, I'm here to answer.
Do we have any questions for the
Do you
applicant?
want that I submit this to you?
You can give it to him. Do we have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Public session is closed. Okay, Mr. Garagos?
I'll start. Okay. It is kind of difficult in these situations. I mean, some people don't know that the permit's required, but as our new legal person on the board knows, that's no defense for breaking the law. Ignorance is no defense. I think there is some truth to the fact that buildings of this era, sort of what they call mid-century, would have expanses of stone in areas. And if you see the one area on the existing house that has sort of a section of brick, it's treated as a mass material. It corresponds with the windows. And I think that is kind of informative to what might be some of the issue with the stone, the way it was done, is that the way it's done is sort of like wallpapering the house. It's not a sense of stone as a mass material and using it in a section like the brick was done. So there might be, I would want to see how the rest of the board feels, but there might be some areas where maybe some of the stone could be removed such that it's treated much more traditional to the house. The staff was recommending going back to brick. I think there would have to be acknowledgement of the fact that there is still brick and that something needs to be done with the brick if you were to keep some of the stone. So, I mean, the two conflict too much to really make too much sense. The issue about the fence, I was going to ask staff about, and I'm glad you brought that up. So I guess the fence is going to come out, and that's not going to be an issue that in terms of the encroachment. So obviously that would have to be redone and could be redone with a simpler style. There's a couple things about the way the stone was done. I think it's that stacked natural stone, right? It's not a manufactured stone, right? What's really funny about that material is that sometimes it looks faker than the fake stone because it's so consistent. It tends to look like, it's undifferentiated stone. And in this particular installation, I think when you look at the pictures, I couldn't see around the house when I went by, but a lot of times in the manufactured stone, they'll have a corner piece that will make the veneer look like it was solid material. The problem is the way it looks on the pictures is what I would assume. This material has a blunt end and doesn't have a rough cut like the face does. So the corners really look not great, which is kind of the problem with using that in having it wrap where it doesn't want, where it's not designed to be wrapped like that in terms of how the corners work. So there's also the issue about maybe some of these areas aren't seen by the street, so then the question is how important is changing it out. So I will save some of my comments to see how the board feels on it, how much we modify, but I think there needs to be at least taking some of the stone back to give it a variety of material, sort of like it used to have, and then also acknowledging the brick something has to be done with the brick or stone. I mean, those two have to mesh some way.
Any comment on the windows?
Unfortunately, now the vinyl is no problem, so I guess that's not a problem. I guess the mix and match between dividers and not would need to be resolved. So either you take the dividers off and let them be single light, which I would probably recommend for the style house. But they do need to have the sill, which was recommended, which I think is important. But in general, the window, I don't necessarily have a problem with the window if the divider issue was resolved. Turning it, I would prefer if it went back to a single light, which is probably how the original house was.
Sky?
I agree. I think it's a mid-century style house, low slung ranch style, 1950s kind of feel. The stone doesn't bother me, but the way that this is applied, like you're saying, it's wallpaper-ish look. It doesn't do the house anything, and I feel like, well, because you don't see it from the street, is it so bad? But if I'm the next person buying the house, it's a shame that this house has been treated in such a way that it doesn't really highlight the features and the style that it was built in, and in fact kind of tries to make it something else because it's just sort of applied all these things to it that doesn't really fit the style. So I'm sort of conflicted because in a way it looks nice. I mean, it's new. It's got brand new windows. They're all consistent around the house. It's the same manufacturer of windows. So it's not this hodgepodge thing that we can point a finger to and say, well, that doesn't match that, and this is clearly not going to work. But it also doesn't elevate the house to what the house wants to be. And so I'm kind of conflicted because I want to support the house and I want the house to shine, but we're not here to defend houses. So in terms of it fitting, I mean, the windows to me, I think the dividers maybe don't need to be there, but it's sort of a which one gets the dividers, which ones don't get the dividers. There's a sort of logic in that kind of makes sense to me, and I don't really have a strong opinion either way. The fact that the vinyl, like I said, I think it's okay. A sill is necessary to give it that presence, that umph that we like to see in all windows that get applied. And the veneer, it'd be nice to have the returns and the corners and all that stuff, but I don't know what you do, but versus just taking all of it off and using the right kind of veneer, which has a dimension to it and a weight to it, and doesn't have this kind of this wallpaper effect to it. So, yeah, I'm not sure either. In terms of the fence, I think that the fence to me is the biggest offense in the project, because where the building is mid-century, and you can kind of argue that this kind of a texture might be applied to that, and all the windows do, work together because they're all the same window type. The fence, the rail outside the fence, it's sort of it's more decorative than it needs to be in terms of supporting the house and the whole neighborhood. So I would be in favor of reducing the amount of light fixtures on the posts. Maybe that might help you just kind of make it simpler. And obviously getting rid of the one that's in violation.
Okay.
My turn. Well, I agree with a lot of the comments that were made. Some of the things that you've already agreed to change the fence and changing the light fixtures, I think those are fine. It seems like that those are easy changes. I agree with the comment about the corners, because I think it would be in your own interest to make them right. This way, it just looks like a bad tile job. As someone who's only a stone installer probably has done it, and they have just gone with the easy way of resolving or not resolving the corners. I think it will be somewhat hard to do that, but since most of the house is already stone, it seems like that's the prevailing material to use. But I would correct that, because it seems like it's going to stay with the house for at least another 20 years. I don't have a big issue with the sills, the window sills. I'm sort of divided between the dividers. I'm not sure if the dividers, taking them out or leaving them, will make that big of a difference. The one other, I think pretty much that will be my set of comments, except the brick. Yes, that's the next one that I was going to talk about. It seems like brick is not working with the house at all. So if there's one material that needs to be changed, definitely is the brick. That concludes my comments.
Would you like to comment on this? Any thoughts?
Well, I too visited the house, and I agree with some of the neighbors who have signed the petition that probably the only area that can be seen, even from the closest neighbor there, is the garage, or even the entrance to the garage. Not much of the house is seen from the immediate neighbors' houses. At this point, I agree with the staff recommendations, and just as Mr. Giragos said, obviously not knowing the rules does not necessarily, or does not at all, give anyone permission to violate them, and I do understand that there are penalties, just like the applicant said. So at this point, I'm satisfied with the staff recommendations.
Thank you. I think the dilemma that I'm in is, as Mr. Kai said, that it is a mid-century modern bone and structure. All of the forms and roof slope and the heights and all the proportions do take it towards that architecture. The problem is that the stone that has been applied, it's a very Mediterranean, very traditional type, and you have the brick and other elements there that really, I would say, in its beginning days, it would probably complement the architecture. You also have the fence that is kind of introduced more of the Mediterranean feel towards the building. And I think that's where the problem is, that we're trying to mix the two architectures, and I disagree with the applicant that it doesn't have any architectural style. It does have an architectural. The bones and its frame itself and its low profile do take it towards that. I'm going to take another approach rather than for us to, I don't think any one of us came up with an option of what to do to fix this. So my idea is that rather than for us to sit here and design it for the applicant, I think the applicant should go back and then understand what staff has recommended, and if they're willing to basically say, we're going to remove everything, let them come back and say, we're going to remove everything. If they're not, let them come back and say, you know what, we think that this brick, obviously we're agreeing with staff, but the problem is that I don't think any one of us has a solution to how to fix this, because I don't think we're here to redesign the project. So let them come back to us and then tell us, okay, we're going to keep this portion of the brick because it's going to look like this, and this is why we feel this is the right approach. And just simply saying that we're going to make the railing or the gate less ornate and remove sections of it, I need to see how they're going to do it, where they're going with this thing. So, and then taking a section of this railing or gate off, well, how do you terminate that, or does it just end and then do you wrap it over? I mean, I'm assuming it's stepping into the front and then it's going to kind of cut off. So there's a lot of little details there that it's going to be left in our imagination to figure out how that's going to come out. So I think this next step, this is what I would recommend. It's up to you guys to kind of agree or disagree.
Yeah, I'll make such a motion. I think my dilemma was that we were going to be trying to redesign.
Yeah, and I don't think we're here to redesign.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
we're here to criticize the design. And the way it stands, and I think we're just trying to give them an option of keeping part of it if they think that they can make it.
Yeah, because I think what staff is saying, which I agree in general with the staff comments, but the problem is the staff comments are saying take all the stone out and put brick in.
Yeah.
It's sort of changing, and which I don't think is their intent. I don't think they want to take all the
Okay,
stone
then
out.
if
So-
they do that, what is it going to look like?
Right, exactly.
What are they
That's-
going to replace with?
exactly, that's my
So-
point.
And that's the other
Right.
problem.
If I may quickly interject,
I'll make a motion too if you want, if that's what you're getting at. Go ahead.
I was going to just clarify one thing. Staff is recommending either to remove the stone entirely, or if it's going to be lowered, which is another
Option to lower the
option, to
wainscot.
lower it and replace the brick with the stone, so it's
Yeah.
all consistent.
Right.
Okay, but what
Replace-
type of brick? How high the lower?
To match the existing, you're saying.
Replace the cut.
Actually, replace the existing brick and replace it with the stone that has been applied. So
we'll have
terminate
more
the
of
brick-
the stone.
Correct.
More of the
That way it would be consistent, but not to the entire height of the wall, but to be lower to the sill height. That
To a
is what staff
wainscot,
is
make a
recommending.
On the fireplace as well?
Correct.
So
Staff's
if they-
recommendation was to take the stone down to a wainscot.
So you
Wait, make it brick, though.
And
I thought.
No,
lower
you
it
could make it stone. You could.
to lower it to either do stone or brick, because we
Yeah.
do have two materials.
And do a cap.
Correct. And do a proper.
So staff is okay if we make that, whatever the brick is left from its original design, to cover that as well.
Correct.
and make
That way,
a
at least we
stone.
have consistency throughout. That is
Well-
the intention of the recommended condition.
I'll throw a motion up, you guys.
Yeah, please.
If you see if you salute it or not.
start.
I think, I don't know that the wainscot makes sense on this house in general, and I don't think I would rather see them keep stone and do it consistent with the style, which would have those walls of stone in areas as mass elements. So I'm not, averse to that. So I think what I would do a motion to is comes back to redesign, and the comments would be, and whether we do them conditions or not. I think one of the conditions needs to be that the stone or brick needs to be determined, and it needs to be consistent one or the other. Although, as you say anything, you can think of the option. I can think of the mid-century houses that had some brick and some stone. I can think of those houses, but they were done in a different way. You could see there was an area of stone and there was an area of brick. I think where the stone just comes in and incorporates the brick, I don't think is within the style. So if they want to start going into that gray area, they have to know they're going to come back with a design that may not be liked, because they'll be playing in that gray area.
But in a way, the stone becomes like a paint or a stucco surface. It's almost like a flat background that the brick gets applied to. Whereas, like we were saying, the wainscot makes it really just,
Yeah, I don't want to see the
populated.
wainscot. I would not want to do the wainscot.
If
I
you
don't think
keep
it's
this
appropriate.
stone and you change it in any way, that makes it any better, because this way it's almost like that wallpaper that goes all the way around. You make the whole house that, maybe.
The question is, do we want to take this, the details towards the mid-century, or do we want to go towards the direction that it's taking, a course that is going on its own, which is a more of a Mediterranean style, whatever, mishmash.
I don't. My motion would not be to take it to the Mediterranean because I don't think they're doing enough.
Because
elements
then you
make
have
it-
to deal with the garage door, the front entry door,
Yeah,
all
the
of
roofing,
those,
everything.
All the detailing
all
on the
of
windows.
That kind of falls within the same parameter. And
I think they need to look at some areas where they might bring some stucco back in so that the stone is treated as an element with other elements, and they need to make the brick either turn into something else, either stucco or brick. I mean, stucco or stone to match, possibly.
Yeah, I think.
And
the
I think the
house-
windows over the garage door have to change. That one panel has to change, so it doesn't have the sunburst.
Yeah, the house is too small to wainscot it. I mean, if you break
It's the
it
wrong
down,
style.
it will
Yeah,
just
it doesn't make sense. yeah.
work against the house. I kind of, I'm having a hard time seeing a brick introduction into this setting that will work.
And that's fine.
Agree
That's fine.
that it has to be.
If they brought that back in,
Yeah.
I think that's a gray area that they would
Yeah.
be gambling on. That was my point. So it would not be my recommendation. So I will make the motion to come back for redesign, and please add additional conditions or comments.
To go towards a
No.
mid-century design.
Toward the mid-century
Yeah,
design.
how can it be done? It's like a house that has a character that someone has tried to put a different outfit on, and it doesn't quite fit, and it looks really odd. And what do? You have to change the outfit, perhaps. But in
I
this
think what
case-
we're saying is you can have walls of the stone
yeah.
if they're treated in a manner that
I-
treats them as stone, and that it's areas, and that there's some areas that might be stucco.
Yeah.
Siding. It could
No,
be
I
siding.
think a single material for this house will be the right answer. Unless we want to say all the stones should disappear, which I don't think.
I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
No, I
that.
know. No,
I don't think
I'm
it's-
agreeing with you.
I don't think it's
just
a
saying-
single material, though. I think there needs to be two materials. It's probably going to be a stucco and a stone.
But
No, I mean,
a brick
the
and a
stucco-
stone?
I'll just go out on the limb and say if it's going to stay as mid-century, I don't know how this stone is going to work
Yeah,
with the architect.
that's exactly.
They can
what
come
I
back.
think.
They can come back and
Yeah,
determine that.
and you got
stone up the
details there
brick.
that doesn't
Yeah.
make sense. So if
Yeah.
they're going to keep the frame and everything, it'll be their challenge to make this thing look right.
Exactly.
So.
That's not for us to design.
Okay.
And the fence?
The fence
Fence-
should be simplified and redesigned.
Thank you.
It needs to be moved, which means it'll be redesigned.
Yeah, if it's moved and if it's simplified,
It
then
will
let's
be
just see
removed,
what it's
correct.
going to look like.
I want to see how it's going to be resolved.
The portions that remain will have to be simplified
Yeah.
within style.
And of course, you would want to see what is going to take place in the areas where the fence
Right.
is removed, correct?
Right.
Perhaps landscaping of some sort.
Well, just how they're going to terminate the fence into the house.
Okay.
I think in general, I would say, and maybe I'm speaking ahead, but well, I guess I can't say it anymore. General support of the stone, I can't say that. I think there's an option.
I wouldn't go with general.
Okay,
I wouldn't go with general. So
Okay.
I think there's a
Just
way
keep
of
the
doing
most
it.
of
There
them.
is a possible way of doing it. but That's my motion.
So from what
Whoever wants a second.
I understand, most of staff's comments are agreed on by the board, and some of these will be moved forward in terms of
I
removal
think,
of
well, number
fence.
one, we're saying that they want the applicant to come back with a design that goes towards a mid-century style of the house, whether that's stone, brick, nothing,
Stucco
take it all off.
or not.
Yes, that's up
Well,
to the
let's-
applicant to decide.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yes, yes.
Two, we don't have a problem with the windows. I didn't hear
I
anyone
think the
wanting-
grids either need, I personally think the grids need to come off if that's the style they're going for. I think the grids just
Really
distract
clear.
from the style.
Okay.
Yeah, ambivalent.
So number
the
two would
problem
be
is the problem is with the vinyl windows. no matter how you look at it, the
Stone
vinyl
vinyl.
has its own thickness
Yeah, it
that
has graded
gives you
inside.
that.
That's the
profile,
Z-bar
whereas
installation,
the-
correct?
The architecture, that it's kind of, it's asking to be a much thinner, much less of a mass. But then, again, the style that they're going to go towards, it may actually work for them.
Right, which
So
also has
that's
no
what I'm
grid.
saying. So let's see what they come up with. They may
All right,
just
so provide windows that will match the.
The style of the house.
Well-
And, mid-century houses don't have grids, so maybe you just take them out and you're
maybe that's the answer.
Yeah, if I may, you mentioned that the vinyl windows are acceptable. I think
Just some
two or
members.
three of the board members mentioned that the sills would be appropriate. I just want you to be aware that with the Z-bar installation, the Z-bar goes over top of the wall finish, and sills are not possible to install.
So Z-bar is the retrofitted one.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
And actually, a mid-century wouldn't have a sill.
So
Barely.
if you
It's just a
theoretically
flush
take
kind
the
of aluminum
retrofit out,
fit
you have
out.
the
So
old frame in there.
It doesn't bother me as much without the stone.
sometimes there would be the retrofit window is as
set
a
up so
product
that
is
you
set
don't-
up right so that you can leave an existing aluminum frame in and put it over top. It's hard to know what was done in this case,
Right.
but I just wanted to make you aware that adding a sill is not possible with this kind of window. If you wanted a different type of window, it would be useful to know if you think a nail-on frame would be more appropriate. That is more in keeping with what may have been on a mid-century modern house to begin with, since they were not necessarily recessed like with a block frame. The other thing that we'd like you to consider, or at least respond to, that is included in staff's comments is, do you think all of the windows around the house should be consistent, or that windows that may be seen from the street on both streets could potentially be changed and other windows potentially not be changed. So we'd like maybe some consideration of that comment that was included with the staff report.
Personally, I think they should be consistent, because in this case, we don't have a big picture window or something that's different, or any kind of vocabulary on the front that's different from the sides, and you have two sides that are front. So, to me, it feels, the windows to me in the pictures look fine as they are, and if it's a mid-century design that we're going towards, to not have a sill doesn't bother me as much as in other cases where we've asked for sills. That's my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah. For me, I think the dividers are the bigger issue than the sill.
Yeah.
So we're hearing that the Z-bar frame that's been installed may remain, and that to remove the interior dividers. Okay, that's very good direction. Thank you.
Okay, and then I think we all agreed on number 4, simplify the fence and the light fixtures.
And
Number 5 we agree on as well, is simplify the fence
the
and the light
board did
fixtures.
agree on that as well, correct?
We're going to include that in our motion?
I missed that, I'm sorry.
Number 4 and 5?
Yeah, I thought.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would, I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I second the motion.
All right, so we have a motion to return for redesign with the comments and conditions. And a second, this is a roll call.
If I may, I know you've gone over the conditions a couple times. I just want to read them back to make sure that we've got them correctly. As far as the main discussion, the exterior finish treatment should be consistent with the mid-century modern house. Perhaps remove some sections of the stone so it's more in keeping with the house design. Wallpapering the house with the stone is not appropriate. Stone should be treated as an element, or could be considered to be treated as an element with other elements. 2 materials should be provided. If stone remains, brick should be removed, and vice versa. Stone or brick should be used as a mass rather than a wainscot. If stone remains wrapping the corner, the stone detail should be wrapped as well. And then we also heard from at least one board member that the garage that has the scalloped windows should be changed to a simpler window. I don't know if I see nods, so I'm seeing agreement on that.
Yeah, remove the sunburst and either put a solid window or...
Rectangle.
Okay, I think that covers it with the additional staff conditions that you've included. Thank you.
Okay, so this will be a roll call. Mr. Zarifian,
Yes.
Ms. Sakai,
Yes.
Mr. Gergos,
Yes.
Mr. Kerogelian,
Yes.
and Chairman Malikian.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
Okay. Do you want this by any chance?
Color board. That's color board.
Okay.
Good evening, members of the board. The next project before you this evening, case number 2010-0. I got it. Sorry. For exterior facade changes and construction of a 16-square-foot addition to an existing residence. The project also includes a new driveway, walkway, and retaining walls, remodeling the pool and spa and enclosure, making the existing carport a garage. The residence is located at 1619 Colina Drive. The materials are in back of you. Let me adjust them a little bit. The proposed project doesn't change the site plan significantly of what was out there. The project includes adding 16 square feet of floor area to the 1,900 square foot residence to create a bump out of floor area on the Colina Drive elevation. The proposed driveway will be widened near the street, and a walkway is proposed from the street to the pool area. Retaining walls are proposed adjacent to the sidewalk along Colina Drive, on the edge of the graded pad, and adjacent to the realigned driveway. These walls comply with height requirements. Staff is recommending that, particularly the wall adjacent to Colina Drive, that the steps be lessened, the number of steps be lessened, and that's probably most easily identifiable in the photographs of the site. Actually, I believe one of the plans I didn't put up. Yeah, one of the plans I didn't put up shows that more clearly. I apologize. I can put that up if you want it. So staff is recommending that the number of those steps be reduced.
So, the one that it's proposed, you're going with more of consistent what's there now, rather than...
That's a picture. What you're looking at now is what's out there now.
Right. No.
That's
I'm talking about this.
That's a
rendering.
That's a rendering.
Right.
This is a photo. It's
I understand, but what you're saying is, rather than what it's being proposed, keep what's there now, right? Because
No.
the way it's rendered, there's more steps.
That's like a perspective, but there are a lot of steps.
Do you
Can
see?
you? Is it possible by code to slope it so there are no steps, or is that not allowed?
I'm trying to understand which are we going with.
I didn't realize that there was a difference between what was out there and that.
You see the difference that I'm talking about?
A lot of steps on that
Yeah,
one.
it
The
looks
steps-
like more steps, yeah.
It just seems
Yeah,
like
that's
there's
true.
a lot more stuff.
It may not. I don't think that probably was intentional.
Okay.
I think what.
Oh, we'll talk to
Yeah,
that.
what the applicant is proposing is to keep
What's
that
there.
retaining
Okay.
wall.
Okay.
What's out there.
So the question
Got
for
it.
staff, Is the code restrictive on sloping the top of the wall, or does it have to be stepped?
It does not have to be stepped. You can slope it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the height that matters.
Right.
Can I just, since we're on that topic, just so I understand this drawing, is this what we're talking, this one down here?
Correct. That's actually the drawing that I should have put up in addition to what's up there.
So when you were talking about less steps, you were looking at this drawing?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I see
No.
It should be over there. Manouche,
Take care of telling that.
I can look for it after.
Okay.
So that was the first comment on the retaining walls. Additionally, the board should consider reducing the number of lighting fixtures on the retaining walls, just to be more in keeping with the low-density residential nature character of the neighborhood. There appear to be like light fixtures on each pilaster of the walls on the site.
Up on the flat pad.
The flat pad, but also adjacent to on the retaining walls adjacent to the driveway.
Oh,
So-
okay.
And then the final consideration with regard to the retaining walls is the landscape plans should include additional landscaping to soften the appearance of the retaining walls. The mass and scale of the project also doesn't change significantly as a result of the project, but staff believes that the landscaping would reduce the appearance of mass on the proposed retaining walls. The existing residence was constructed in 1952 as a ranch-style residence. After construction of the project, the residence will maintain many of the features of the ranch style, although the appearance will be altered to include a contemporary Spanish aesthetic. Windows throughout the house were replaced without a permit. 6 new windows are proposed on the south and west elevations, which the south elevation is the Colina Drive. The west elevation is the elevation facing the driveway. The remaining windows throughout the house are proposed to remain. The board may wish to consider that the windows be consistent throughout the entire residence, although the visibility of the remaining windows is limited due to the topography of the site and where the windows are located. Homes in the neighborhood represent a variety of architectural styles which are carried out in varying degrees of success. While the proposed project is not entirely successful in implementing the Spanish architectural style, it wouldn't be an aberration in the neighborhood. Staff is recommending approval of the project with the conditions and considerations contained in the staff report. That concludes what I have to say. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Do we have any questions for staff? Okay.
I'm actually also going to switch.
Okay.
Switch over.
Oh, okay. Vicky Barbier.
We love you just the way you are. We don't need to change.
Good evening, I'm Vicky Barbieri. I'm the architect for the project. I think Roger has done an excellent explanation of what we are trying to do in this situation, very similar to the case that you hear before, what the previous owner did, changes with no permits, with no approvals of any type. And then, for what I understand, this new couple bought the house, and they were working in the backyards, on the driveways, or something was before my time in the project, and was cited by neighborhood service because they were working with no permits. Then the project has stopped at that point for a long time, maybe 2 years. I don't know exactly how long, but maybe 2 years. And the owners has approached the office and said, well, we have really limited resources, but we would like to work out something that will be agreeable with the city, make this place looks much better what it is, remove this foam pretending moldings around the windows, build a real access to the house that was confusing between the driveway and the access, and these retaining walls and the excessive amount of lighting and the working in the backyard have been in progress and stopped. We have a swimming pool, but it was the work and I never finished. One of these things that are important to visualize, that the only part of the house that you can really see is this portion of a colina and sideway to the driveway, because the other part, that flat part, is at least 25 feet above the street. And there are no neighbors who can see none of this situation. It's across the park, the Verdugo Park, and maybe that information will help you do certain comments. In reference with the staff comments, I really agree with all of them. I don't agree with one. And we have discussed it with Roger. It's in reference to change the stepping of that existing retaining wall that has been there maybe from the beginning of the house. And for me, it's not such the importance of the amount of steps, what is kind to the person who walked next to it, and they are knee-high. If you shorten the amount of steps, you are going to create a situation where in certain parts you are going to have it at shoulder height. And even if you put landscaping in the back and you kind of grow it in top of it, it's a nice sidewalk, and I think it's less agreeable to anybody to walk close to a 5 foot or 4 feet retaining wall than the one that they have now. It is very small and not conspicuous whatsoever. That has been my disagreement to this point. In reference to the windows, we changed the windows that they are seeing, the windows over the back 5 feet to all these walls, nobody will ever see them, and over the pad area 20 feet or 25 feet above the street, nobody will ever see it. In reference to the landscaping, wherever it is landscaping, I always agree with them. If they can add more landscaping and all that kind of stuff, why not? And in reference to the rest, I don't have any more comments.
That was a great explanation why you were disagreeing, so I think a lot of people should listen.
One of the comments was to make the windows consistent. So are you saying you agree you want to make the windows consistent?
No.
In an ideal world,
Well, we're in this world, so are you saying you're agreeing with everything but the one element
and
you were...
I don't.
you were,
If I have $100 to spend,
No, what I'm saying is you've said you agree with the comments. Are you Are you
no.
agreeing with the windows? So
If
there's
that
two things
was-
you don't like.
I agree with what we propose. Let's change for much better windows where it can really be seen.
Have you seen the staff report? Have you seen the staff report? The
Yes,
recommendation?
I have.
Okay.
But
You
I'm
mentioned
sure
you just-
memory loss is very common in
Hey,
this
I have the
time.
same. I just so we're clear, you had mentioned that you liked the staff report except for one item, but you actually have a
It
problem
was
with the windows.
two items.
Two items.
I'm
Okay,
very
okay.
sorry.
That's
Two
fine,
items.
that's fine, so we know. So you don't want to change any windows other than the ones you proposed?
If I can, no, like I said, in an ideal world,
Okay.
maybe nowadays, I prefer they put the money in the landscaping and things that are more visual, make the house better windows in the front, better paving in the driveway. You know, the front has changed dramatically. You see the rendering, what we have proposed, and we really have extended much more that the owners are maybe able to do, but we encourage to go as far as we can. That is my only,
Okay, I hate to ask one more question, but I'm asking one more question.
Sure.
yes.
This wall exists, right? This is the
Know
existing
how
wall.
close I have to get.
Come on, close. This doesn't seem to be knee height, that's what
Move
I'm
the
saying.
mic, so if you're going to speak, we need to hear.
Is that the wall that's existing?
This wall is existing,
Okay.
and if it's not exactly knee high, and I start going through.
Right, but I'm
farther,
saying,
I'm
okay.
going to have retaining walls at this
Okay.
level.
Okay.
So it's
And I
not,
think
it's not
it's-
this, you're not proposing this then?
No,
It's just a graph.
what exists.
Okay.
It doesn't coincide existing exactly, it's because it's a drawing maybe issue. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, I don't have anything else.
Oh, I have a
in my
question.
Thank you.
part
I have a
you would
question.
like to
We have a
ask.
question here.
You said you agree with the staff comment number 2, provide additional landscaping on the flat pad area. What would you envision in that area, the flat pad area?
Well, they have a swimming pool, and they were working in the swimming pool, plumbing and whatever. And the landscape architect, I think they want to do a small barbecue. They want to do a beautiful project in the back. That was before this 2008. After 2008, I think the plans has kind of, let's fix the swimming pool, let's put landscaping, and all these other things will come with time. But they are very much interested in to have a backyard because the flat area is huge and it's beautiful.
So right now it's going to be paved area when they finish the pool and
Part is going to be paved,
And
part
part
is
sod.
going to be landscaping, and in time they will do
more.
whatever they can afford to do. The dreams at the beginning was fountains and this and that.
Okay, can I ask you a question, but I need to ask staff a question?
I need to-
Just to clarify.
Let her finish.
Okay, I'm
first.
sorry.
One
So,
second.
also in the landscaping, from the pictures that I'm seeing, that's the construction photos, they have plants that are installed right now next to the retaining wall on the west side of the driveway, the higher retaining wall. Are those the plants they intend to keep, or are they going to go with the plants that are on the planting plan?
Well, the
Which don't
idea
match.
is, ideally, always is that you're supposed to follow whatever landscaping plans you have approved.
Right.
It's like everything else. You cannot plan the plans that you want and approve any other plans and then do whatever. If they have plans that are not approved, it's like everything else. We have to be removed and follow a landscaping approved plan.
Okay. So
Tell you exactly what
the
it
intent is to follow this plan,
I
even
haven't
though...
been in the house for
Has this plan been approved? Sorry. I'm
Not yet.
asking.
We're gonna.
Well,
approve it.
that's part of your,
Right.
that's part of your approval. So if you approve the project tonight with those landscape plans, that's what they will need to install.
And that is,
And actually,
if I could just ask this question, it'll help your question, I promise.
No, I'm done.
Because it's piggybacking on yours. When you wrote this comment about adding to the, had you reviewed whatever the latest landscape plan that came in? There was one that was here, I don't know if that was not what was. Your comment was in addition to the one that was submitted.
right, I based my comments on the plans before you.
And there's no other landscape plan, this is the landscape plan.
Correct, yeah,
And you wanted more than what's shown on this plan?
correct.
Okay, I just want to make
And
sure there wasn't something that
actually-
came in later, that's all.
Yeah, let me just go up and show you.
And you're okay with the landscape that's shown on the plan? I promise I'm asking
Me?
your question. No, I'm just saying,
For her.
I didn't mean to get into your question, but it's part of your question, that's why. You're okay with what's shown on the landscape plan? You know what's on there? and
I'm not an expert in landscaping. I'm not a landscape architect.
Yeah,
I'm
but
just
they
an
hired one.
architect. This is why we hire licensed landscape architects. I look over the plan. For me, it's okay.
No, I'm saying you're representing the project, so if we
Yeah.
approve it, you're going to have to build that. So you know what's on there and you're
Oh,
okay
she
with it.
understands.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
that's fine. That's all I'm asking.
What I was referring to on the pad was this area here, because they've got paving here, they've got some sod here, and then this area here, it wasn't clear to me what exactly it was, and so the additional landscaping in the pad area I had suggested was in this area.
So all you were talking about on landscaping on the pad was that?
But the,
Was this area here, yes.
there's a note on the drawings that to relocate all shrubs planted on driveway slope to rear area. In that, where you're pointing to, that
Here?
note, that long note, yeah. So it's sort of unclear how they're going to relocate them, but based on the photo of that's why I asked the question about the plant material that's existing on the next to the driveway. There's what look like pretty healthy plants. If they did go there, I wouldn't have a problem with locating them.
Relocating the existing plants that are in this area?
Right, to that area. Right.
Okay. And then the other comment was, with regard to landscaping, some of the landscaping here, I believe this is...
They have vines proposed.
They've got vines here, but in this area, and then also along this area, to to soften those retaining walls, do some other vine or something else that sort of softens the appearance.
Well, they have existing bougainvillea that seem to be very healthy.
Okay, do we still need
I
the
don't know.
applicant?
I have no
Okay,
questions.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a application here, Diana Greenfield.
A tree?
State your name and address, please.
Evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. I live directly across the street from that house at 1610 Colina Drive. I have watched this house fall into decline for the last 5 or 6 years. I've lived there 8 years. I just want to say that I approve of this project, and I agree with every one of your considerations and comments, you board members. It seems to me that the project is basically consists of completing and redoing what was originally started in the first place. We've lived with no driveway, no door in the garage, on the west side of that bank, and I think that wall was probably built, that retaining wall was probably not permitted. There's never been any landscaping on it. It's just been a mess, and the previous owners, I don't know who's previous and who's current. They have planted in the space between the step retaining wall and the fence around the pool compound, and allowed it to die. They spent a lot of money, whoever it was, and never watered it. As far as the comments and considerations are concerned, one of the greatest peeves of my life was when they put 22 light fixtures on those pillars. And one night, when they were first installed, they turned them all on. Now, it looked like a cross between a landing strip and a surgical amphitheater. I could have done surgery in my living room if I was a doctor. It was so bright. Fortunately, they don't turn them all on. They just turn on the ones in the front. That's okay. So I would definitely go for reducing the number of light fixtures, hopefully unifying, making the windows uniform. Funnily enough, the step retaining wall, which I see every day, doesn't bother me. So my comments are those, and I thank you, and I thank you and the owner, and let's just do it.
Thank you. Oh, before you leave, I'm sorry, excuse me. Before you leave, if you can state your name and address for the record.
Oh, I'm Diana Greenfield, and I live at 1610,
Thank
directly
you.
across the street.
We just need it up for the record.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Myrna Stanley?
Good evening, board members and staff. Myrna Stanley of Verdugo Woodlands West Homeowners Association. It is a shame how long this project has taken to get through neighborhood services, city attorney's office, and finally the planning department. It's too bad that neighbors have to put up with this, but we're here. So I have to tell you, I'm more confused than I was in the beginning. If I understand correctly, a landscape plan has not been submitted.
It has been
So
submitted.
are you working with a prior landscape plan?
No, it has been submitted.
It has been, okay. I have not
That was
seen-
part of the packet.
Okay, I have not seen it. Ms. Sakai, you made a comment that you were okay with having the plants that were on the Colina side duplicated on the Niobrara side, is that correct?
Ms. Craig, can
driveway
you go up
slope.
to the board so everybody
Well, from what I
can see?
understand, this comment says, relocate all shrubs planted on driveway slope to rear area. I'm taking this as a driveway slope,
Okay,
and from the photos that I'm looking at, they have plant material here. It's
gotcha.
certain drought-tolerant plant material.
Uh-huh.
They're saying to me that they want to take this and put it in this area.
Okay, this area here on the, that's Niobrara?
The flat area that's
Okay.
Behind the pilot.
Okay, all right, okay.
And then
Because,
they're going to be planting more trees
Right.
front of
all going to be
the,
new landscaping through here and up in here.
Okay, because the bougainvillea that is now on the Colina side that is overgrown, it's very pretty, but it's overgrown retaining wall and it's covering a lot of the light fixtures, and it's very woody and kind of messy. In our concern also is the light fixtures. Holy cow, 24. It's just amazing, and even though they may not turn it on frequently, that doesn't mean it's not going to happen in the future or that another owner would do it. So I know we don't have a light intrusion ordinance here, but this is your time to look at this site and to take care of it. Thanks for your work on this.
Thank you. Would you like to comment on anything? Or?
I really appreciate them to come over and express their concern about the stage of the property and the time that has taken, because in reality, it's way overdue. In reference to the lights, my recommendation was to eliminate 60% of the lights and maybe leave 20% of the light or 30% of the light, and they have agreed. That was done before, and definitely this is going to be completely eliminated to a normal kind of situation. 22 lights is out of the question. But I really appreciate the concern. Is my concern, and hopefully it's the owner's concerns. And I know they stated to me this time they are ready to go when they get all the permits.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you. Their public session is closed.
There is delineation for lighting fixtures on, I believe, the site plan. And as it's built now, there are lights on every pilaster. On the site plan, it's shown as, I don't know if it's every other one, but it's not on every pilaster. If that's a place to start, and you can look for your discussion there.
Well, right now,
I just see 2, 3.
well, we have, including the 2 pilasters in front of the steps, we have 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
11 and 2 on the
And periodically, do you see where it's delineated on the site plan?
And then you got 2 on either side of the driveway on the upper hillside. You got 2 over there too.
2, 2.
It looks like they're taking out every other one,
Right?
sort of,
Oh, right.
every other.
On the wall facing near Drara,
And every other.
I think it's not an exact pattern, but they've skipped 2, and then they have 2 together, and then they skip 1. That sort of.
No, I think they've done the right thing.
On the plans?
Yeah,
The light fixture illumination.
yeah, it looks right.
Okay,
I know
so
the reasons why they've
so
done
that-
that way.
that could be a more definitive condition than what we've placed.
And I would, maybe we can talk about it.
Yeah,
after.
let's
Go ahead.
You
start.
know, I think everything that I heard seems to be very reasonable. The retaining wall, I don't have a big problem with it. I don't think adding or maybe making the steps more is the right answer, because it will make a bigger retaining wall. Ms. Sakai suggested maybe you can make it kind of a follow the slope by, instead of steps, having straight lines. But I think over time this will become a lesser issue. There in the neighborhood there are a lot of stepped retaining walls. So this one happens to be a longer one. So I don't think that's a big problem. Reducing the lights is a great suggestion. If I had my way, I wouldn't have put the lights on top of the pilaster, because it means that it throws light over on the other side, which no one maybe wants it. So then by turning the light on, the adjacent properties' lights is also turned on in a way, so it belongs to both sides. But at this time, since they're there and we're reducing them, I would suggest even maybe you can consider a dimmer for these lights, because sometimes, no matter how many, if you even have one light and it's too sharp as a light, it's too much light, So that in combination with the reduced number of lights would be a good thing. Then there was, I think the landscaping seems to be working. Maybe Ms. Sakai can talk more about it. There was one more issue. Oh, the windows, if you're changing it to the visible sides to be consistent, that's totally fine. So I don't have a major. They're going to change the windows, make them consistent on the sides of the streets that are visible. So they're going to make sure that they're all the same type.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay, so as they're proposing.
as they're proposing.
Okay.
So I think that's basically my comments, and I think it should be fine.
Yeah, I don't. Now that I understand the project a little bit better than when I had started the evening, I agree with everything that's been said by my colleagues, and I think that the landscaping, in terms of the plan that's submitted, the material's fine. It's a hillside. Just the slope is pretty steep. So what they're proposing, I think, the bougainvillea is sort of a maintenance issue. I think that you keep the bougainvillea there, it'll minimize the wall. It'll provide the screen that you're talking about, that you're requesting in one of your comments. Just that they would have to maintain it, and that's any homeowner's issue. So I don't really. I think the lighting plan, as it's shown in the site plan, fine with me as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think we've covered most of it. I think I didn't have these perspectives in my packet. I think the only real question I had is, a lot of what's happening is right around this entrance, and I think it's a little unfortunate because you're sort of redoing a lot of the stuff there, but it doesn't really say entrance. It's kind of, you'd think you'd almost go around the side with the railing. I think that the front door's to the right a little bit. That sort of feels like the back door, kind of. And I just wish there was a little bit more happening. Maybe it's a more substantial pilaster on one side, or maybe it was a trellis piece or something that set entry a little bit better. I think it's just a little too nondescript right on that corner. Just sort of washes out. So I don't know if we make an issue of that. All the neighbors are very encouraged to get this project done, but it just seems unfortunate there when you're redoing that section to not do something that really emphasizes the entry better.
Can I see the
Well, that could be their next phase of work.
Right, exactly.
When they do the pool area, they can add a trellis into the front. That's a great idea, though.
It just seems unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's sort of nondescript, kind of.
Well, how about if you put as a consideration of looking into something?
Emphasize the entry, sure.
Yeah.
It could be as simple as
I think for
a
me, the retaining walls are kind of bothersome, how it goes
There's a
right into the
pilaster or
driveway.
And I don't know if
or
it's a
something.
zoning thing, and maybe, the pilasters get taller right on the...
There's a 5-foot limit.
I
5-foot
figured.
height limit.
But you could add one at the, with the step, where the upper level of stairs goes down to the lower level. Now that I've seen the photo, add
But
another
even if it was, in that
pilaster.
style, a lot of times when your entrance is going beside a building like that, sometimes they'll do a porthole with a decorative iron gate that says entry, that I think could happen as you brought a little bit of wall to the driveway.
Yeah,
you
but
know,
usually
get
the
portal.
roof goes across more.
Yeah,
to kind of
exactly.
encompass
Something
that.
to kind
So
of
do you-
set entry a little bit better. It just sort of washes out right there.
Okay.
Anyway, let's comment. I don't know where we go
Any
with that.
thoughts? Any...
Maybe I should have asked while the applicant was at the podium, or maybe the staff knows the answer. Is there any work being done currently on this property? Because while I was driving by, trying to find the address, which wasn't very easy, by the way, I don't know if it was for any one of you, I thought I saw a day laborer or someone looked like was on the property. By the time I parked and I approached the property, I couldn't see anybody anymore, and I didn't want to go further into the property.
Yeah,
So-
to my knowledge, there is no work done. There is no work being done on the site now, and I've been out to the site, twice in the last week and a half, and then once many months ago, and I haven't seen any work. I've seen a car parked in the right by the front door, but no work.
Okay, thank you.
But that's proposed, so.
Okay, I'm fine with all the considerations and recommendations. The only thing is, let's tie the plans down to the number of lights that are shown, because there may be some inconsistency in amount of pilasters facing near Dora. Based on the photos, that I didn't count when I was there, but when I'm counting on the photos, it seems like there's more pilasters. So the way that it's laid out, that, one in the corner and then one blank and then two lights next to each other, I think you have 8. So I'm just going to keep the number of light fixtures rather than increase them based on the pilasters. So we got 4 along near Dora, and then you got whatever it's shown along Colina.
Because there's the number of lights should.
Yeah,
There's 10.
consistent with not the pilasters, but number of lights that are there, so they should be distributed.
So
10.
we see 4 on near Drara, 4
then-
on Colina, 2 at the entry at
and
the
then the
sidewalk,
2
and then 2 at
Yeah.
the driveway.
Yeah, that's fine. And then
Very-
plus the dimmer that Suzerafian said.
Very good, thank you.
Reduce the number of lighting fixtures as shown on the site plan.
Reduce the existing lighting fixtures to match the quantity that is shown on the site plan. I think that's better.
Okay.
How do the rest of you feel
And
about some of
then,
it?
was the dimmer switch a consideration?
No, I think it's a
Condition.
condition, yeah.
How do you guys feel about something having to do with the entry? You want to make a recommendation?
I think it's one of those things as you get close to the bill. Once you get there, it will make sense.
Makes sense?
You won't be lost in a way. I
Yeah,
understand.
I mean, it's
think
not that you'll be lost.
It's a
I'm
good
just-
comment. No, I know.
I get, yeah.
What I'm saying is that it changes as you get closer. Once you're at the gate here, you'll completely understand the.
I think as a consideration, I don't mind it,
Yeah.
rather than, yeah.
No, I think it's a good comment.
No, it's fine.
I thought it was a good
You don't
comment.
have to be nice to me.
Oh, okay, so it's terrible.
Okay, can we go
I'll
through
make
the
a
comments?
motion. I make a motion with those comments and recommendations.
Okay.
Second.
Please
I'm going to
reread.
go over the, okay,
Please
so
reread them.
we're going to eliminate condition number 1. Okay. Condition number 2, provide additional landscaping in the flat pad area. Is that sufficient, or?
As per
the notes?
Site note.
Lands- site note on the
landscaping
landscape.
plan.
Okay. The third, consider additional landscaping adjacent to the retaining walls.
So that is the one that's on the sidewalk, right? Is that what you're saying? 3 is the sidewalk?
Number 3 referred to the sidewalk as well as the retaining walls adjacent to the driveway.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah,
don't
I think
have a
that should
problem.
stay.
Well, but they have vines on the back wall, and the front wall you're going to put, they have landscaping. I don't have.
It's a consideration, isn't it?
It's a consideration. That's fine.
Okay. We're going to eliminate 4.
It can still be consideration. Can it?
No, I think
Get
we're
rid of
just
it?
gonna, yeah. Let's just get rid of it.
And then the 5th one is revised to,
Excuse me,
considered.
on the windows, I would suggest changing condition number 4 so that we're specifically stating what the
But
proposal
they're already
is.
proposing on the plans. As per plans.
As per plan.
They're already showing they're proposing to change the windows in the facing Colina and within whatever it's being visible, right?
In certain cases, we typically recommend, even if something is on the plans, just to make it clear during the process, to include it in a condition. If you don't want to include it, that's fine with us.
I don't see
yeah,
it.
this
I don't think
way,
there's much they're proposing other than the windows and putting
well,
the-
this way, it's clear for us, because if in 6 months, they come back to us and say, listen, we'd like to keep those windows,
Okay.
it's clear that you all said no.
Okay.
They need to
So
change them.
W1 and W2s that are being proposed on the plans should remain as,
No, should be changed.
Yeah,
no,
we'll
should
Should
remain as
remain.
proposed.
Yeah.
okay.
shall remain as proposed.
Should be removed and replaced, as shown.
Okay.
Should be removed and replaced as shown.
Yeah.
As shown,
You don't say remain, that is causing a problem.
remain as designed.
Removed and replaced, as
Okay, and then the fifth comment is going to be reworded, reduce the existing number of lighting fixtures to match the quantity shown on the site plan.
Yes.
Yes. And, I'm sorry, and provide a dimmer. Thank you.
Right.
Okay.
Then we had the last
And
consideration.
we also wanted to add a consideration to consider providing a trellis or other element to highlight the entry.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, a motion was made to approve the project with the conditions just listed. This will be a roll call. Mr. Garagos.
Yes.
Mr. Zarithian.
Yes.
Mr. Karoulian.
Yes.
Ms. Sakai.
Yes.
Mr. Malikian.
Yes.
Great. Motion carries
Very
5-0.
nice. Thank you. All right, we have the minutes, and we do have a quorum. Only lasted, how long?
I think there's one correction regarding the November 3rd minutes that we need to add Mr. Zerfian's absence. I'm not sure if that was noted already or not. But
It is.
Present, yeah.
I was
It's noted on the vote.
absent for the last two.
Yeah, it's on the vote.
It's noted on the votes.
okay.
Absent.
I'll make a motion. What? Or did I?
Be 3 for 3. Go
I have
ahead.
2 sets of notes. No, same notes. November 3rd is all we're looking at.
Correct.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of November 3rd.
I second.
Okay. This will be a roll call. Mr. Garagos.
Yes.
Ms. Sakai.
Yes.
Mr. Karoulian.
I abstain.
Mr. Zarifian.
Abstain.
And Mr. Malikian.
Yes.
Thank you. Vote is 3.
All right. I don't have the official envelope for this, I just signed one of these documents, I'm assuming that's fine.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, any more? Are we adjourned?
Motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
I second.
All right.